Daniel Ricciardo has been having quite some fun this year, driving old Red Bull Formula One cars every chance he gets. From deserts to highways to Las Vegas, it seems the Australian is happy to be home. However, one thing he is missing is some seat time in the RB19. Yet fans have been speculating whether we would see him replace Perez in case things go south with the current F1 duo since his transfer. Perez had a rough time in Australia, and throughout the weekend he struggled to control his car, leading to his start from 20th on the grid for the main race. In the end, he did manage to push his way to 5th. However, that was after he was aided by safety cars and restarts, and his real performance was not particularly special. In this video, I will talk about the chances of Perez being replaced by Ricciardo, or possibly even another driver, and what that may entail for Ricciardo himself. Though it may seem spectacular on paper, Perez's performance in Australia only featured a small number of overtakes, as 8 cars did not finish the race, and Carlos Sainz had a penalty, which resulted in his 5th position. He was indeed able to overtake the likes of Lando Norris, but it is important to remember that he is racing in a Red Bull, a car that is proven to be much faster than any other car on the track. Speculations before the race called for Perez to challenge the podium, yet if it were not for the safety car and the 2 restarts, he would not even have finished in 5th. His poor performance comes after having trouble with the RB19 for the rest of the weekend. His car spun multiple times and he reported a problem with the vehicle. However, his teammate was flying on the track and had a comfortable lead over other cars. Perez also failed to be the 2nd fastest on track overall, and other drivers like Hamilton and Alonso outperformed him during the race, which is not something we have seen this season. This brings into question Perez's performance as a driver and whether his race win in Jeddah was due to his driving or just because of the superiority of the RB19. To make matters worse, relations between Perez and the team have also been in shambles recently, as the Mexican driver blamed his team for not telling him about the fastest lap earlier in the season. Last year, Perez also had 2 clashes with his teammate Verstappen as well, and fans were quick to joke about him being replaced by Ricciardo if such an event happens again. Ricciardo spent 5 years with the Red Bull team from 2014 to 2018 and has 8 wins in his career. During his time with Red Bull, he often performed better than his teammate Sebastian Vettel in 2014, and then later current Red Bull star Max Verstappen. His pace is seriously commendable, and he has shown great comebacks from the back of the grid. In the same car, he outperformed Max Verstappen, which is not something Perez can say. He only had 2 wins last year in circuits where overtaking is immensely difficult, and his primary role was to make sure that Max won every race. Ricciardo took an underperforming Red Bull and managed to put it onto the podium multiple times, and there is no doubt he is one of the best drivers of this time. Red Bull team boss Christian Horner has sung his praises numerous times, and his aggressive racing style is admired by many. Daniel Ricciardo was hired as Red Bull's 3rd driver for the 2023 season, and the team planned to mainly use him for publicity stunts. The 33-year-old has one of the most charismatic personalities on the grid and is loved by many fans. When he announced his return to his home team, fans were excited to see him doing stunts around the globe in a Red Bull car. Yet, speculations for Ricciardo's return to the grid have started to spread, especially after what happened to Perez. Perez's contract is scheduled to end in 2024, and his replacements are already being searched for. Regarding his comeback to the sport, Horner recently stated, "He's in good shape. He's kept himself fit and well. He's training hard and he's ready to go given the chance," said Horner. "I'd say he's about 10 minutes away from being ready." Having had time off over Christmas to reset, he's come back and hit the ground running. He likes the feel of the car in the virtual world, which seems to correlate well with what we see in the actual world. We're certainly seeing him getting back to being far more reminiscent of the Daniel we knew. Do you think Ricciardo is a viable replacement for Perez? If so, why? And if not so, why not? Let us know in the comment section below. Ricciardo recently stated that he is ready to return to the grid and that his time off has helped him open his eyes. "The signs are pointing towards getting back on the grid," he told a small group of reporters at a Red Bull partner event with Yeti. "I feel like that's where I'm tracking in my head, and a few of the habits that I'm having or doing is pointing towards that. It's only been a few months out of F1, but I think some itches have been scratched, so to speak. I've actually weirdly found that the days that I've had no schedule are the days when I've actually done training and I've done things like I would before. So I don't know, being my own boss, writing my own schedule has actually brought out a lot of the things in me when I thought I might just sit on the couch and watch movies all day and eat junk food. I'm just not. That's not me. So even these things have made me realize how much I do care about it. Although he did not mention which teams he would be going with, Red Bull could do good with the Honey Badger's talents if relations between Perez and the team continue to worsen. Rumors say that Max has still not forgiven Perez for his spin in Monaco last season, and Perez himself was also mad at Verstappen for not returning his position back in the Brazilian Grand Prix. It also seems that Perez is not ready to compete for a world championship yet, and Red Bull would prefer to have teammates that go along well. Ricciardo and Verstappen already have a good relationship, and Ricciardo could be a worthy competitor for the World Championship. Before I move on with another driver that could replace Perez, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel, as it helps us make content like this daily. Furthermore, another driver that Red Bull is currently eyeing is Yuki Tsunoda, who now drives for Red Bull's junior team AlphaTauri. The Japanese driver did not have a great last season, but in 2023 he has shown good pace and is a promising driver if given a competitive car. AlphaTauri team boss Franz Tost thinks Tsunoda will be ready for the Red Bull seat in 2025, and the only person he could replace is Perez. All I can say is that Yuki is on the right track. He has improved in every respect, but I think he should drive at AlphaTauri again in 2024, he spoke. In 2025, I think he will finally be ready for Red Bull. If either of the Red Bull drivers misses a race for some reason, we will see Tsunoda or Ricciardo step up to drive, and their performance will eventually pave their way to the full-time seat at Red Bull. Furthermore, the team will compare performances of the racing simulator, which will help the team make a concrete decision. Perez would have to ensure that he keeps performing at the top and keeps Ferrari and Mercedes from outperforming him. As front-running teams close up on him, his career will start to go into jeopardy, and Red Bull will be forced to look for an early replacement, most possibly in the form of Daniel Ricciardo. Nonetheless, Perez's departure from Red Bull is not confirmed yet and will depend on his future performance and relations. Keeping rumors aside, Perez and Max do seem to be content with each other and have had quite a few regular conversations. Red Bull is currently not searching for a championship winner either, as they already have Max Verstappen. A team's basic dynamic consists of one main driver who will compete for the championship and another driver that will support him throughout the season. Perez has fulfilled that role amazingly before, and he could do it again if he stops searching for a championship this year. Perez is also of high value to Red Bull financially, as last year he was able to generate $33 million in revenue for the team. This number was greater than teammate Max Verstappen and was only exceeded by Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. The revenue he generates will be a significant factor in determining whether Perez will retain the seat when his contract ends. This would lead to Ricciardo having to look elsewhere for a racing seat. All of the major players, Aston Martin, Ferrari, and Mercedes, will probably stick with their current driver lineup, and the next best situation for the Australian would be to end up in an Alpine. He has made it known previously that he does not want to race for a backmarker, and with his underwhelming performance at McLaren from 2021 to 2022, teams will not be lining up to sign him just yet. Maybe this would mean that Ricciardo will have to stay in the back lines for another year until more seats open up and contracts end. In the end, the rest of the season will decide who gets the second Red Bull seat, and the team will keep their eyes wide open to monitor the situation between Max and Perez. Furthermore, Tsunoda's season will define his future, and if he manages to have good finishes, he may be in the Red Bull a year earlier than expected. What do you think about this situation? Will Perez leave Red Bull early, and who will replace him either next year or in 2025? Will Ricciardo be back in the grid in the future or not? Let us know your thoughts by commenting.